To the Fox 10 News Now stream. We're talking all about Arizona Cardinals. I'm joined by our one and only Richard Saenz.
Thanks for having me, buddy. Wow.
And big day today.
Yeah, good
wow.
day.
Two
Good day
big
for the Cardinals.
extensions. Talk about it. Let's
The
go.
Two key players get extended. Carson Palmer, Larry Fitzgerald. I mean, we all know the Cardinals can only go as far as these guys take them.
Yes.
And you don't want your main guys worrying about contracts. And Larry Fitzgerald's contract was going to be up at the end of the season. So he gets extended one more year through the 2017 season. And then the guy getting him the ball, Carson Palmer, gets an extension as well. Both well-deserved. Carson Palmer will now be signed through the 2018 season.
Okay.
So, you know what? I think what the Cardinals have said is, look, this is a window of opportunity for us here. We've got a chance to really do something special, and that's win a Super Bowl. And these opportunities come once in a lifetime, once in a generation. To have a team this good, with a chance to win it all, you got to take advantage of it and kind of stretch that window if you can a year
you could
or two.
extend the timeline now.
And nowadays, the funny thing is Bruce Arians was talking about this with modern science and sports science and technology. A lot of players are playing longer. Quarterbacks especially are playing 5-6 years longer, especially now when you look at how the practices are. There's not that much contact. You can't hit the guys as much even in the game. So these guys are playing longer. I was talking to Bertrand Berry about that, former player for the Arizona Cardinals, and he goes, yeah, well, you can't touch him anymore. I can play 10 more years with these new rules. But the funny thing is it's better for the game, it's better for the players, it's better for the fans, and guys are playing longer. So hopefully these guys have a couple more years left in the tank.
And tell me, how do you think the players like it to be extended before the season actually starts? How important is that for a player?
Right, that's very important. Great question, because they're not worried about, okay, where am I going to be next year, or what's going on here? How come they haven't come to me? Do I got to come to them? Now they can just focus on what they're paid to do, and that's play football, that's win games, and for guys like Carson Palmer and Larry Fitzgerald, that's lead by example and motivate the other guys. Because to win a championship, you need superstar players. You need a great quarterback like Carson Palmer. You need a guy like Larry Fitzgerald, who's probably one of the best ever. And then you need role players. And those role players are looking at these star players and saying, hey, what's their demeanor? What's going on? How are they feeling? How are they doing? How are they acting? And that goes a long way. It trickles down.
Absolutely. And now, was there any rumblings of this might be happening, or did this just come out of pretty much left field a little bit today?
Right, and that's the great thing. There wasn't any okay, what's going on with that deal? The big rumbling, if anything, was the Honey Badger, because we all knew that they need to lock him in. So I thought that was great that they got that done. They got it done fairly quickly, and they get it done before the season starts. And they knew they had to get it done because they already had him at a deal, getting him in the third round, and they were already had him on the cheap. And so that was a cool thing. I thought that was enough. And then all of a sudden, like you say, out of nowhere, this comes up, and this is just good business, and it's smart, and you got to give credit to the general manager, Steve Keim, and even more credit to the man that's paying the money, and Michael Bidwell, and opening up the wallet, which was one of the promises he made back when they were at ASU and they were at Sun Devil Stadium, and the Cardinals didn't have the reputation that they have now. And he was saying, look, once we get this new stadium, I'll open up the wallet and we'll do the right things. And he's living up to his word.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now, will they be looking, do you think, at Michael Floyd as well? Is he in his final year as well?
He's coming up.
Okay.
Another guy that I think might be the next one is Chandler Jones.
Okay.
Because he's the guy they got over in the trade for Jonathan Cooper, who has, I think, 1 year left on his contract. So he's the guy that they're saying, that's what the Cardinals like to do, is they say, look, we'll bring you in for a year, make sure you're one of us, show us you can still play, show us you can play in our system, and then we'll pay you. And then when a guy like Chandler Jones and a guy like Michael Floyd sees what's happening with the Honey Badger, Patrick Peterson, Carson Palmer and Fitz, they know, okay, if I do my part, my management team, my front office is going to do their part.
So the total optimist could say, hey, we're going to win the Super Bowl this year, and we'll win it again next year, right?
Yes, I like the way you think.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is that was asked, that similar question was asked to both Bruce Arians and Carson Palmer, and they asked Bruce Arians, because these guys are both late in their careers.
Oh, yeah.
They said, look, if you win one now, this year, at this stage in your career, what's the temptation to ride off into the sunset with the Super Bowl? And like that, Bruce Arians says, well, I think I'll be more tempted to come back and win a second one.
Oh, yeah, I got to defend it.
And that's when they started talking about how players are playing, longer. And Carson Palmer was also talking about how he wanted to win every year, but the sense of urgency and the meaning of it becomes more important, and I guess a stronger feeling for it when you become older, more mature, and hey, this isn't going to last forever. I've got a certain amount of years left. I need to make the most of it.
And would you say that Carson Palmer really found like his renaissance here in Arizona?
I think so.
Because weren't they almost like writing him off in Oakland?
Yeah, exactly. And even in Cincinnati.
That's true.
I think this guy has kind of like died and gone to wide receiver heaven. When you think about who he had to deal with in Cincinnati.
True.
He had Chad Ochocinco Johnson,
yeah,
and he had T.O. at the same time.
Yeah.
And, and I think he's a saint to put up with that.
Yes.
Then he says he got fed up and said, look, either trade me or I'm going to retire.
Mm-hmm.
That's how fed up he was.
Yeah.
And he still obviously had great years left.
Oh, yeah.
Then he goes to the scrap heap in Oakland and threw for like 4,000 yards there. So he had a good year. It was just in Oakland, which is a team that's on the up and up. But at that time, they weren't. And so, people were kind of like, Carson Palmer's not the same. So I remember, I was like at a D-back game when the news came about that Carson Palmer was coming. I had people coming up to me going, Carson Palmer? That's the guy? I'm like, the guy threw for 4,000 yards with the Raiders. Can you imagine getting him with Larry Fitzgerald?
I know.
And I asked Larry about that. Last year, I was tempted. I couldn't help. I said, is there a part of you that kind of wonders what would have happened if you and Carson, who are similar ages, would have been together this whole time? When you think of what they did last year, but he's such a class act. He didn't want to say anything bad about all the other quarterbacks that he had here. But he just said, well, I'm going to focus on what we have now. And he gave a great political answer, politically correct answer. But I can't help but think, man, if we had these guys 5, 6, 7 years ago, it'd be a nice little run. But, hey, I'll take what I can get, and I'll take another couple years.
There you go. And you know what's so great about Larry Fitzgerald, not only getting him what's due to him, but also what it's great for the community, too, because what he does for the community, making them be here a little bit while longer. I think that's amazing.
Right, and he's a major fixture in the NFL, and he gives the Cardinals a brand.
Yes.
And I think that's another reason why it was very important to sign Tyrann Mathieu as well, the Honey Badger, because these guys are dynamic players. These are guys that kids in other cities, other states will say, man, I like that guy, and I'm going to root for the Cardinals because of that. I was in Detroit last year covering the Cardinals and the Lions. Yeah. And I was before the game, so I'm going to get some pictures of Cardinal fans that made the trip. And I saw a kid wearing a Fitzgerald shirt, and I go up to him, and they were from Canada. Yeah. And I'm like, you couldn't even get Arizona people to be Cardinal fans back in the day. Yeah. You got Canadians saying, of all the teams in the NFL, I like the Cardinals because of Larry Fitzgerald. And that's what you were talking about right there, where he's just so much more than just a good football player. He's good for the state of Arizona.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, really, before back in the day for the Cardinals, their claim to fame really was being on Jerry Maguire, right?
Right.
I mean, wasn't at that point that was like the highlight.
That was it. And even then, it was kind of like a joke where they were wondering about the contract and all that stuff. So how times have changed. And in years past, I don't know how many guys would hold out and want more money, or they could never sign their top pick. Then the guy would finally sign. He'd come in out of shape because he just missed half of camp. He got hurt, or guys would do their 3-year contract, then leave and go somewhere else and get paid and be great. And we're like, why do we let him go again? Yeah. So, and one thing also I've noticed about Steve Keim and the new Michael Bidwell is that they address the needs. Because I remember for years, like, we need a running back, we need a tight end, and it'd be the same thing over and over. And for, a couple years ago, the Cardinals were thin at running back. Now they got 3 outstanding running backs. So last year, they needed some more pressure on the quarterback. He goes out and drafts Robert Nkemdiche. He gets Chandler Jones. It's just like, that's what you need. I'm going to focus on that, and they make their weaknesses strengths.
And now we got the upcoming preseason coming up, and really the main goal of that is really just come out healthy, right?
Right, yeah.
No major injuries.
Yes. I would like to see the first team have a good rhythm, have a good drive, no injuries, like you say, and then get the first teamers to get a good drive, get some groove going, get them out. Let's see what these younger guys can do. Then they go to San Diego for a whole week. They'll be practicing against the Chargers for a while, which is really healthy, I think, because after a while these guys get tired of hitting each other.
You want something different.
The whole time. So they'll practice with them, and that'll get the juices flowing. Then they play them. At the end of that week, we will be there. So we'll have a crew there. Brad Gass, our photographer, and myself will be there for the whole week, providing reports, and maybe we can do some stuff with you
that'd be great.
And then after that, the third preseason game is the most important.
Yes.
Because that's the game where the starters play at least a half. They play the most of the game. So that's going to be really cool to see, and it's going to be in Houston, where the Super Bowl is this year. So it could be a little preview of what's to come. And we will also be there. We'll make the trip to Houston for that game. That game will be on Fox as well.
Okay, great.
So some good stuff coming up the next couple of weeks.
Amazing. And then tell us what's coming up tomorrow, Saturday.
Yes.
For the red and white game.
The red and white scrimmage. It's funny how with the new rules, we're talking about how the guys can't hit as much.
Yeah.
They don't practice in pads as much, which is good for the players, and it's not good for situations like this. The big difference, though, will be they'll have full pads, and they will have what's called a goal line situation, which is where they get offense on the 2-yard line, defense on the goal line, try to stop them. And I remember I used to love Carlos Dansby, former Cardinal linebacker, who would always say, the bullets are flying, the bullets are flying. And that's when you really get, you know, guys it's a lot of ego there.
Oh, sure.
Like, the defense says, I'm not going to let you score. And the offense says, oh, we got to score. We're on the 2-yard line. So that's when it gets really good. And they do that towards the end when the guys are already tired and they're pumped up. So that's going to be fun to watch. But it's not the same as the years past, but it'll be, like I said yesterday, the closest thing to a game, and I'll take it.
There you go. You can't beat that. Well, we really look forward to the start of the season,
I know. Can't wait. You know, I've covered this team. This is my 14th camp, and this is the most talented team I've seen from top to bottom.
Nice. So they can really make a nice deep run.
Yeah, absolutely. They can win it all. They really can, Mike. I believe that. If they stay healthy, they really have a chance. They really have a chance.
And especially just the way and I love how many national games we get too.
Right. And that's the thing. That
continues the brand.
Changed. Yeah, that continues the brand, and it shows that they're on the right track, you know, because they're not going to put the weak teams on national TV.
No.
So that was usually the case with the Cardinals. And now it's like, wow, Monday night, Thursday night, Sunday night. So it's really cool to see.
It seemed like a couple, more than a couple, I felt like last season where they switched the games to primetime for them.
Right.
Too.
They can flex them, towards the end of the year. And that's another sign of respect. And you know, that was really cool to see.
Yeah, I remember they had almost back-to-back Sunday night.
I know.
That's awesome.
Great.
Well, we look forward to another season, and of course, you're reporting, and we can't wait to have that.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you. Thanks for stopping by.